He didn't fight. He didn't fall. He just vanished. When heaven split in two and the stars dimmed from fear, one angel stood in silence. Gabriel, the voice of God, the herald of divine truth, the one who spoke light into darkness, had nothing to say. While Michael raised his sword and Lucifer raised his pride, the messenger of heaven was nowhere to be found. He didn't stand with the loyal. He didn't march with the rebels. He simply disappeared into the silence between them, and no one ever asked why. Because what could silence the voice of heaven itself? Fear, loyalty, or a command that even angels could not question? Maybe God told him to stay quiet. Maybe silence was his weapon, or maybe Gabriel was watching something that broke him, something heaven was never meant to feel. Sorrow. You've heard the story of the fall. You've heard of Lucifer's pride and Michael's victory. But you've never heard the story of the one who said nothing, the one who watched heaven burn. This is the secret side of the rebellion, the story of the angel who carried every message, until the day heaven itself fell silent. Before the world had shape, before time had meaning, there was sound, but it wasn't chaos. It was harmony. The heavens didn't speak. They sang. Every star shimmered to a note. Every angel was a chord, and God himself was the melody. It was perfect. It was pure. And leading that divine symphony was one being, Lucifer. He was beauty made visible. His light painted the skies. His voice could bend galaxies into motion. When he sang, creation itself paused, because it felt like love was singing. And beside him stood Gabriel. If Lucifer was the song of heaven, then Gabriel was its breath. He carried God's will, not as words, but as essence, a voice that became whatever the Creator desired. When God spoke, Gabriel didn't repeat it. He was it. And for ages beyond counting, heaven danced to their harmony. Lucifer, the morning star, Michael, the defender, Gabriel, the voice, heaven's perfect trinity of loyalty, until the whisper. It didn't roar. It didn't thunder. It came softly on, like a question. Why does he alone receive all the glory? That thought changed everything. Lucifer's melody began to falter. His voice still shined, but it trembled, tainted by something unspoken. Gabriel noticed. He saw the pride creeping through Lucifer's beauty like shadow through glass. He saw admiration in Lucifer's eyes, not for God anymore, but for his own reflection. And one day, Lucifer came to him. His tone wasn't defiant. It was gentle, almost sorrowful. "Brother," he said softly, "have you ever wondered why he made us? Why must we bow if we are already perfect?" Gabriel froze, because for the first time in eternity, he didn't have a message to give. No divine word, no heavenly answer, nothing. And in that pause, Lucifer smiled, the kind of smile that hides a wound. "You feel it too, don't you?" Then Gabriel saw something he'd never seen before. A tear, a single tear of light, fall from Lucifer's eye. But it wasn't sorrow, it was resentment. And that moment shattered Gabriel's peace, because suddenly, heaven, a place untouched by pain, felt human. He realized that even angels could feel doubt. From that day, Gabriel said nothing. He couldn't. When the archangels gathered in heaven's court, Gabriel sat apart, silent, distant, breaking quietly inside. He listened to the tension rising, the light dimming, the stars hesitating to sing. Heaven had never known fear, but now it held its breath. The whispers grew louder. "Lucifer is changing. He speaks of freedom. He questions the throne." And through it all, Gabriel stayed silent, not because he didn't care, but because he was terrified of what he felt. When you love someone so deeply, when you've shared eternity with them, watching them slip away feels like watching light itself die. So Gabriel did the only thing he could do. He prayed. He begged the silence for an answer. But heaven said nothing. No voice, no command, no comfort, only silence. And that silence tore him apart more than any sword ever could. He wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, God was giving Lucifer a chance to return. But with each passing day, the light in Lucifer's eyes darkened. He gathered followers. He preached freedom. He built a movement of angels who believed him. And still, Gabriel waited, between two storms. Michael sharpening his blade, Lucifer sharpening his pride. And in that fragile stillness between righteousness and rebellion, Gabriel broke. One night, if night even existed in heaven, he went to the edge of creation, where the light faded into nothingness. He fell to his knees, and for the first time his voice trembled. "Father, please, tell me what to do. He is my brother. Please don't let him fall." But heaven stayed quiet. Even the stars refused to sing, and Gabriel wept. Angels do not cry easily. Their tears are rare, sacred, burning with light. But his tears fell like comets into the dark, each one carving silence into eternity, because he knew what was coming. The next song of heaven would not be praise, it would be war. There are no wars like the ones fought in silence, no pain like the one that comes from watching love fade away. Heaven, once radiant and endless, began to dim. The light didn't vanish all at once. It flickered, uncertain, as if creation itself was holding its breath. Lucifer no longer sang. He spoke, and his words, once worship, began to burn. Why must we bow? Why must perfection serve? Are we not divine as he is divine? Each question was a spark, and the spark spread. Some angels trembled at his voice, horrified. Others listened, because in his tone there was pain, and pain is contagious. Gabriel watched from the distance. Every time Lucifer spoke, it felt like heaven was being pulled apart by invisible hands. Michael had already taken his stance, fierce, loyal, unbending. He warned the host of angels, "Do not listen to the deceiver. His pride will be his ruin." But Gabriel couldn't call him deceiver, because when he looked at Lucifer, he still saw his brother. Radiant, broken, confused. And that was the curse of Gabriel. He could understand both sides. He understood Michael's loyalty, but he also understood Lucifer's longing. That desperate need to be seen, to be loved for what he had become, not just for what he was made to be. Because deep down, wasn't that what every creation yearned for? To be more than what they were created as? Heaven had never known rebellion, but it had also never known heartbreak. And now, it knew both. One day, as the tension reached its peak, Gabriel entered the great hall, the throne's very heart. Light danced across golden pillars, and the air itself hummed with divine power. Thousands of angels stood in rows, faces filled with uncertainty. At the center stood Lucifer, radiant beyond words, his wings brighter than dawn, his eyes full of conviction. Across from him, Michael, sword in hand, gaze fixed, unwavering. Between them stood Gabriel, the messenger, the silent one, the heart caught between heaven's two hands. Lucifer raised his voice, and it echoed like thunder wrapped in music. "We are light. We are thought. We are divine. Yet we bow to one who hides himself in silence. Tell me, brothers, is this glory or slavery?" A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some angels looked to Michael, others to Gabriel. Lucifer turned to him then. His voice softened, not with rage but with pain. "Gabriel, tell them. You've heard his words more than anyone. Tell them why he is silent. Tell them why we must always kneel." Gabriel's lips parted, but no sound came, because heaven's voice, the one who spoke for God, had no message that day. He looked to the throne, but the light atop it was still, unmoving, unreadable. Silence. Lucifer's expression hardened. He took a step closer, his glow flickering like a dying star. "You see? Even you don't know. Even you can't explain it." Michael's wings flared. "Enough!" he shouted. "You dare challenge the Most High?" The great hall erupted, light clashing against light, voices rising, faith trembling. Gabriel stood in the center of it all, tears forming again, though none could see. Because for the first time in heaven's history, angels weren't singing together. They were shouting against each other. And God still said nothing. When the assembly finally scattered, heaven was never the same. Lucifer left the hall, not defeated, not yet, but changed. He walked with the glow of defiance, surrounded by those who believed him. And as he passed, Gabriel felt something brush against him. Not wind, not light, something colder. Doubt. He turned and saw faces he had once laughed with, prayed beside, now following Lucifer into the shadows. And in their silence, Gabriel heard something worse than rebellion. He heard pain, because these weren't monsters. They were angels, confused, searching, heartbroken. And Gabriel loved them too. Heaven's melody had broken, and Gabriel, the voice of God, could do nothing but listen to the silence that followed. He wandered for what felt like eternities through the empty corridors of heaven. The stars above no longer sang his name. Even the rivers of light that once danced through paradise flowed slower, dimmer. He whispered over and over, "Father, please, speak. Tell me what to do." But heaven's silence remained, and it was in that silence that Gabriel realized, sometimes God doesn't speak, because the pain is too holy for words. Heaven no longer felt like heaven. The air was thick with something no angel had ever known. Tension. Light trembled, songs faded, and for the first time since creation, love began to divide. Lucifer no longer hid his intentions. He gathered angels beneath the silver arches, his voice echoing through the radiant fields. His words were sharp, beautiful, and dangerous. "We are eternal. We are flawless. Yet we kneel like servants. He gave us light, but keeps the throne for himself. Are we not worthy of it too?" His followers, and once gentle, radiant beings, now glowed with pride that shimmered like wildfire. And Gabriel, standing far in the distance, felt his wings grow heavy, because he remembered that same voice, that same smile, when Lucifer sang beside him in the dawn of time. He remembered laughter that echoed like symphonies. He remembered friendship that felt eternal. And now, that same voice was tearing heaven apart. Michael approached Gabriel one day, his armor gleaming like molten fire, eyes burning with determination. "You've seen what he's done," Michael said. "You've heard his words. He's crossed a line that can't be crossed." Gabriel didn't answer. "You're the messenger," Michael continued. "If you won't speak for God, then at least speak for truth. Tell them to turn away," but Gabriel couldn't, because deep down, he didn't just hear Lucifer's rebellion. He heard his hurt. He looked at Michael, his voice breaking for the first time in eons. "He's not evil, Michael. He's lost." Michael's jaw tightened. Lost or not, he's leading heaven into ruin. Then Michael turned and left, his wings cutting through the air like fire through smoke. And Gabriel was alone again, always between the two, always between love and loyalty. One day Lucifer came to him. He didn't appear in light, but in shadow, wings dimmed, face weary, eyes fierce but trembling. He stood on the edge of heaven's great bridge, where light poured into creation like rivers of gold. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Lucifer said quietly, "You still won't stand with me." Gabriel looked at him, heart breaking. "I can't. You know I can't." Lucifer's voice grew soft. "Do you know what it's like to feel forgotten by the one you love most? To give everything, every song, every breath, and still be told you're not enough?" Gabriel swallowed hard. "He hasn't forgotten you, brother. You've turned away from him." Lucifer's eyes glimmered, not with tears, but with fury. "No, Gabriel. He turned away from us. He gave us light, but chained it to obedience. I only wanted to be free." Gabriel stepped closer, his voice trembling. "Free from what? From love? From the one who made you perfect?" Lucifer turned his face toward the endless horizon of creation and whispered, "Perfection is a prison." Those words unburned through Gabriel's soul like fire, because for the first time he realized Lucifer wasn't just rebelling against God, he was rebelling against himself. And there, at the edge of eternity, Gabriel said something he never thought he would. If you go down this path, you won't come back. Lucifer looked at him one last time, his expression a mix of anger, pain, and something that almost looked like love. Then maybe it's time to stop pretending I want to. And with that, Lucifer spread his wings and walked away, not falling yet, but fading. And that's when Gabriel realized the worst pain of all isn't watching someone fall, it's watching them choose to. Heaven changed after that day. The skies dimmed, the music stopped. Every angel knew something irreversible had begun. Gabriel prayed harder than ever. He begged for God to speak, to stop this madness, to save his son before it was too late. But again, silence. And in that silence, Gabriel heard the faintest whisper, not from heaven, not from God, from within himself. Maybe this is how love ends. He looked up, eyes wet with light, and for the first time, doubted his purpose. Because what good was the messenger when heaven had nothing left to say? That night, as the stars turned dim and the golden rivers slowed to stillness, Gabriel felt it, a shift, the calm before the breaking. Lucifer was gathering his army. Michael was sharpening his blade. And heaven, beautiful, eternal heaven, was holding its breath one last time. The brothers who once sang together were about to destroy each other, and Gabriel, the angel who carried God's voice, was about to lose both of them. Heaven had never known the sound of war. It had known music. It had known praise, but not this. The skies trembled. The light turned red, and the song of creation, the one that had carried peace through eternity, shattered. It began with a roar that shook the foundations of paradise. Lucifer's legions rose like a storm of light and fury. Millions of angels, eyes burning like dying stars. They weren't demons yet. Not yet. They still looked like angels, and that made it so much worse. Gabriel stood atop the crystal spire, watching it unfold below him, heaven tearing itself apart. He couldn't tell who was who anymore. Every beam of light that fell could have been a friend. Every burst of fire could have been someone he loved. Michael led the host of loyal angels, his sword ignited with the fire of God. His voice thundered across the heavens. "You will not prevail, Lucifer. The throne belongs to the Almighty." But Lucifer, radiant, unbroken, rose above the chaos, wings spread wide, his voice carrying through the carnage like poetry dipped in sorrow. "Then let him prove it, Michael. Let him come down from his silence and speak for himself." His words echoed through every realm of heaven, cutting through the sound of battle like a knife through song. And Gabriel felt it. Not the anger, but the pain in Lucifer's tone. Because buried beneath rebellion was heartbreak. Lucifer wasn't just defying God, he was begging him to answer. Lightning fell like divine tears. Wings clashed against wings. The rivers of light turned to smoke. Gabriel moved through the battlefield like a ghost, untouched, unseen. He wasn't sent to fight. He wasn't sent to speak. He was just there. Everywhere he looked, he saw beauty dying. Angels he had known since the dawn were falling, their radiance dimming into shadow. And every time one fell, the sky grew darker. He whispered again and again, "Father, please, stop this. They don't understand. They don't know what they're doing," but heaven's silence was deafening. No command came. No hand reached down. Only the sound of creation bleeding. Then Gabriel saw them, Lucifer and Michael, two brothers, two flames of the same fire, one burning for pride, the other for obedience. Their light collided like the breaking of 1,000 suns. The force of it split the heavens apart. Angels fled, stars broke. Reality itself seemed to cry. Gabriel dropped to his knees, shielding his face as the light tore through him. And in that light he heard something. Not words, but a sound. It was God, not speaking, not commanding, just grieving. Because even God was watching his children destroy each other. When Gabriel opened his eyes, the battlefield was unrecognizable. The skies were cracked with flame. Lucifer stood wounded but unyielding, his face streaked with tears of fire. Michael raised his sword one last time. His voice broke, not with rage but sorrow. "Brother, please, don't make me do this," Lucifer smiled weakly. "You already have." And in that moment, Michael's blade, forged from the breath of God, struck. Light, silence, fall. Lucifer was cast down. The morning star became the fallen one. His followers, once radiant, now twisted by grief and rage, fell with him, screaming through the endless void. The skies sealed behind them, and for the first time in eternity, heaven was quiet again. But it wasn't peace, it was mourning. Gabriel stood alone on the shattered fields, surrounded by broken wings and dying stars. Michael knelt nearby, his armor cracked, his tears glowing faintly against the dust of battle. Gabriel looked at him, voice trembling. Was this victory? Michael couldn't answer. He only bowed his head. Gabriel turned his gaze to the horizon, where the last trace of Lucifer's light vanished beyond creation. "He was my brother," he whispered. "He just wanted to be seen." And that night, for the first time since heaven's beginning, Gabriel, the angel of messages, the voice of God, could not speak, because there was nothing left to say. From that day, heaven never sang the same. The stars that fell with Lucifer left holes in the sky, silent reminders of what love can destroy when pride takes its place. And Gabriel, he carried that silence for ages. He carried it like a wound no light could heal, because when heaven fought, the voice of God was not sent to speak. He was sent to feel, and he would carry that feeling forever. After the rebellion, heaven was quiet, painfully quiet. The golden halls still gleamed, but their light felt hollow. The music of angels still filled the skies, yet every note trembled with sorrow. And in the center of that silence stood Gabriel, heaven's voice now wordless. He had spoken for God since the dawn of time, but now there was nothing to say. No command, no comfort, no whisper from the throne. He watched the silver sea ripple with memories. Michael's sword, Lucifer's fall, and the faces of those who were lost. He knelt, his reflection fractured between light and flame. "Father," he whispered, "was silence my sin?" No answer came, only the stillness of eternity. Michael once told him, "You must forgive yourself. The will of the Father was done." But Gabriel couldn't shake the feeling that something inside him had died too. Then in that endless silence, a voice came, faint but unmistakable. "Gabriel, you have carried my words. Now you must carry my silence." Tears fell from his eyes, not of sorrow this time, but of understanding. He realized the silence was not punishment. It was purpose. Heaven didn't need a message right now. It needed healing. And Gabriel would wait, in the hush between heaven and earth, until the day his voice would be called again. And when that day came, he would speak the words that shattered the silence of creation. "Fear not, Mary, for you have found favor with God." Because even when heaven goes silent, God is still writing his story. In whispers only the patient can hear. When Lucifer fell, the skies of heaven trembled. Michael fought. The angels chose sides. But Gabriel stayed silent. He didn't raise a sword. He didn't shout in fury. He simply waited, between the light that remained and the darkness that fell. Because his silence wasn't fear, it was faith. While Lucifer's pride screamed for power, Gabriel's heart whispered for mercy. And though the rebellion shattered heaven's harmony, his quiet obedience kept its hope alive. For in that silence, God was still speaking, not in words but in purpose. And one day, long after the fall of angels, Gabriel would break that silence again, to announce the one who would redeem what pride destroyed. So remember, when heaven goes quiet, it isn't defeat. It's the sound of God preparing something eternal.